This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. As you see down here on my table, we're going to be making this wonderful card. It's a kind of a rainbowish happy birthday. Like I said, today we're working with the Stamparatus. The Stamparatus is our stamp positioning tool, and it's pretty fabulous. It has actually 2 plates that will come from 2 different directions, so that you can stamp this one and then stamp this one. And then you can stamp this one, or you can turn it over and have another stamp over here and stamp again. So you actually can have 4 stamps at once on here to mass produce, and that's pretty cool. It comes with a mat that is for photopolymer stamps. Because our red rubber stamps have a cushion already on them, when we're working with photopolymer, we need to give it that extra depth that it's looking for. So that's when you would use this mat, is when you're using photopolymer. The actual plate has a grid. It's laminated. You know, it's not laminated. It's got acrylic over it or something. It's not paper. But I happen to put a little shim in it. This is one of the Stampin' Storage magnetic die holders, just to give it a little bit of an oomph, because I felt that if I put that or a couple pieces of cardstock or something underneath it, I got a much better contact with my stamps. You may find that you need it, you may find that you don't need it, but just know that it is an option. Don't panic if it doesn't give you the perfect impression the first time, because it doesn't have to. The cool thing about the Stamparatus is it will stamp again in exactly the same spot. So I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to pull out a piece of cardstock. Oh, and it does have the 2 magnets. I'm only using one. They store on the bottom, so it does have 2. And then I positioned my stamp. I just kind of set it on here on the cardstock, and then I picked it up with the plate. So I had the stamp sitting here. I pushed this down and I pressed to pick up the stamp. And so this one, as you can see, I used a variety of colors. I've got Gorgeous Grape, Melon Mambo, Daffodil Delight, Coastal Cabana, and Granny Apple Green. And then for this one, you can see there's a little bit, it's, you know, shaded again. And I used the uninked spectrum pads. And so what I did was I took the ink refills that I have that go with my pads. These ink refills will work for watercoloring. They will work for re-inking your pads, re-inking your markers, inking up ink spots. I mean, if you pick out a color and you like it, I seriously suggest that you get a refill, because there's lots and lots of uses for them. So this is all I did. I just went along and I added a little bit of ink onto each one. And if you'll notice, it doesn't take a lot of ink. I'm just giving it a little bit. And you'll notice that right now, the little pads, the little linen pads in here are not touching. And that's on purpose, because when it's stored, we want to be able to have those separate so that the colors don't bleed into one another unnecessarily. When you go to stamp with it, you push it together and you have one solid pad. You will notice that the lid will not go on. It won't sit securely if they're together. And it kind of reminds you that you need to open it up for storage. So I'm going to start out with the front of this card. Let's go with something bright. Here I've got Bermuda Bay. Hopefully this will go well. And then I'm just going to take my ink pads and I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And then I'm going to press. It actually gave me a pretty good impression. I was trying not to give it such a good impression because I wanted to show you how you can take the same exact color, give it a little more ink, and go back and press it in exactly the same spot, and you can't even tell. I think that's pretty fantastic. And then this is one of our chamois that I cut into 4ths because I find them really easy to clean off my stamp in between colors. So I'm just going to come in. I'm going to come down 1 notch. I don't know if you saw how I did that. It used to be up here and I brought it down to this one. So it's just shifting it. And this is going to give us even stamps all the way down. So I'm going to pick my next color. We've got Melon Mambo. So there we go. That's a front of a card. that could easily be mounted on a card base. I want to show you something else. I'm going to bring in another piece of white, and these are 4 inches by 5 1/4, which is the standard card front. And this time I'm going to ink up with the Spectrum pad. And so I'm going to stamp this, ink this all up, and I'm going to come up to the top and press. And look how pretty that is. And because I am using the same colors, I don't need to clean it off in between. So I just have to remember that last time when I inked it, the flat side was to the outside, because I wouldn't want to flip it and go this way, or maybe you would, but it would change the rainbow of colors. It would go the other direction. So I'm just inking it again in the same colors, in the same direction. Today's card's really simple because for the most part what I wanted you to get was the idea of how cool the Stamparatus is and how great it is for mass producing and for spacing things out evenly. I come from a background of accounting, and things being straight and even, it's very important to my little brain. When things are all crooked and out of order, it messes with me. So that's another way to do this. So you can do it in solid colors, or you can do it in the rainbow of colors. I came in afterwards, and you could do a ribbon around here, you could do another piece of cardstock around here, but I decided to start using some of my washi tape. And I apologize, this one is retired, but I tend to have a lot of stuff that's retired and I want to be able to use it up. But you could do this with any washi tape that would match. So I'm just mounting that down the side, and I'm making sure that I go all the way down the length, and then I have a little bit to fold over the top because I don't want rough edges showing. So you could mount that on here and have that card, or you could mount this one with the rainbow and have that one. And then I thought it looked a little boring, and so I brought in an extra couple layers. I don't know if you can see, there's a Highland Heather or circle, and then there's the white circle. And I used another stamp from that stamp set. This Happy Birthday that I'm using is from the Perennial Birthday stamp set. And so since we said happy birthday, the little circle's going to say, here's to celebrating you. So I'm going to bring in that little circle. Let's go ahead and ink it up on the Spectrum pad over here. Sorry if my head got in the way. So there, I have a little circle that could go on the front, and like I said, I had cut out another one, so this could go under it. And you know, I debated on whether or not I would just kind of offset it, because I think that looks pretty cool, or I could change this to a bigger size circle. I cut this one originally and I thought that's kind of too big, so but it all depends on your preference. I mean, somebody might like it that big, but I cut the smaller one out of the center of that. That's why it's a ring. When I went to adhere it to the card base, I'm going to use snail adhesive. You could also use the liquid glue if you wish, but I'm going to go ahead with snail. And again, I don't have to cover the entire thing. Just the 4 corners and a little bit in the middle works well for me. And then this one I adhered direct with some more snail. And then I use Stampin' Dimensionals to pop up the other circle. You can't really tell on camera, but in person, popping this up helps you to see the Highland Heather circle underneath of it a little better. Then I just need to center it in there. And there's our finished card. Of course, it's, you know, it could be a little more finished if I go ahead and stamp a little something on the inside. I'm not really sure what I want to do with this one yet, so I think what I'm going to do is just come in with a simple flower. And let's do this on the rainbow pad again. That was kind of pretty. I'll go ahead and stamp that in that corner. Stamp this in this corner. Probably could have done a better job if I wasn't stamping on the Stamparatus without using it technically. But you get the idea. I just want to give a little something for the inside. And I could place that inside. I'm going to flip it over and stamp it again because that one bugs me. But I don't want to hold up your time. You get the idea. The other thing you can do is decorate your envelope. And so sometimes I'll take my envelope and stamp maybe just all over the flap. I mean, you could do this with the shape, you could do this with words, you could do this with, you know, whatever you wanted, and it would look great. This one I'm going to have hang off the edge, so let's bring in some scrap paper so I don't get it where I don't want it. But again, you get the idea. You could stamp it all up like that, or you can come in with the flower and stamp the flower in the front corner. Now I try to make sure that it's good and pushed down into the corner if I'm going to be mailing it, because the Postal Service likes to have their return address and the address you're mailing it to clear and visible, and then sometimes they put those little tick marks on the end that kind of scans it. So you wouldn't want to decorate the front too much if you're mailing it, but feel free to decorate the back. Feel free to insert a piece of designer series paper in here, but anything that will go ahead and help it match. So that's today's card. I hope you like it, but I do want you to be informed. I want you, if you purchase stamps from me, I want you to be able to use them. I don't want you to purchase stamps that are just going to collect dust on your shelves and not get used, because it's so fun. I find it so stress relieving, and the joy that it gives me when I give someone a handmade card is just undescribable. Handmade cards are fun to give, and it's good to see the reaction on the other end. So I will see you next week on Monday at 2:30. Thanks for joining me. Bye.